Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, where prohibitive perfectionism has gone out the window in favor of inconsistency as a result of the unpredictability of life in this reality. I keep saying that it's been a minute, but it truly has been a number of weeks since I filmed, and that is because after 2 very long years of avoiding the plague, it caught up with me, as it has seemed to catch up with a number of people who were lucky enough to not catch COVID. But yes, I earlier in June was unfortunate enough to be laid up with the plague, and it was truly awful and definitely very scary there for a minute, and I'm still not 100% better, but definitely on the other side. I would say it's a complete 180 from where I was just over a week ago with high fevers and all of the symptoms under the sun, and I have been or had been relegated to the basement, which, if you've been here for a while, is not a new occurrence because I spent most of my time in this basement, but it was even worse because I was completely bedridden, so I couldn't even, without much difficulty, get out of, you know, the subterranean life here. Yeah, it really sucked. Get vaccinated, folks. Get your boosters if you haven't gotten your boosters. I honestly truly believe that had I not been triple vaxxed and I caught COVID, I very likely would have been gone from this plane of existence. Needless to say, I am back and at it, and I missed a bunch of stuff with work. I think in my last video I was kind of gushing about this massive project at work called In the Wake of Progress, and while I was able to go down into Toronto and experience the public world premiere of that, literally the week that we were supposed to open our indoor immersive is when I came down with COVID and missed the entire first 2 weeks of the show run. But I was finally able to get downtown today to see it, and that was really wonderful. And I took myself last night, so I'm filming this on July 7th. Last night I took myself to the Machine Gun Kelly concert at the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, which was truly phenomenal. Probably one of the best concerts I've ever been to in my entire life. Avril Lavigne opened, and it's just like I got to live out my pop punk teenage dreams. I'm wearing my Machine Gun Kelly t-shirt because of course I bought merchandise, and it was just such a perfect solve for what has been going on, not just with me personally, but as per usual, the world at large continues to be a place that makes us feel the capital ick on a minute-by-minute basis now. So 2 videos ago that I filmed, I was discussing, you know, the importance of female bodily autonomy, and as was expected, unfortunately, the US Supreme Court did end up overturning Roe v. Wade, and we have seen the immediate uproar as a result of that, but also the immediate consequences of Roe v. Wade being overturned. And it is truly just a devastating moment in history that I kind of can't believe we're having to live through. And that, next to the impending / currently present and daunting climate crisis, the war in Ukraine, the threat of other wars happening, the threat to all of our, you know, basic human rights, now that Roe v. Wade has been overturned, it keeps getting worse, and we keep thinking that we've hit rock bottom, and then nope, nope, just kidding. So, you know, it's a dark time, and it's truly unfortunate. And one of the things that my therapist really loathes that I do is, you know, I'll start one of our sessions with everything is terrible, and she's like, okay, back up, everything isn't terrible, why don't we talk about some of the good things? Because It's times like this where I think self-care and creative expression and the little precious moments, as we have been talking about more and more often recently, those are the little things that matter. The wonderful outlet we have here on Beauty YouTube matters for so many reasons. Creativity, community, self-expression, freedom of self-expression, as we see our freedom of bodily autonomy slowly fade away. So it's these little beautiful moments, you know, it's summer here, there's flowers, there's life, everything is beautifully in bloom. There's all kinds of beautiful, precious little moments that we can turn our attention to. And now that I am on the other side of COVID, I can actually start enjoying some of those again. I finished a book that I had been reading. In the grand scheme of things, the silver lining of me getting COVID was that I really needed to just like slow down and rest, which I hadn't been doing. And I don't want to say that like the universe gave me COVID, because that's not what happened. I caught COVID from being out in public and being less than careful in a few instances out of pure excitement and just whatever. It doesn't matter how or where I got COVID. Everybody is catching COVID inevitably these days. And again, thank goodness for vaccines. That is what's going to keep people alive and from not getting the worst of this terrible illness. Where was I going with that? The COVID brain is so real. Things are just either not popping into my brain or disappearing entirely. Precious moments, bad things. I truly don't know where I was going with that. But anyways, today we're just doing some makeup playtime. That's why we're here after the longest intro as per usual. And because I have been relegated to kind of the basement space and out of the sun and not getting the amount of vitamin D I would prefer to be getting at this time of year, where it is beautiful and sunny out. And you know, my pallor has changed because I'm still recovering. Although in this light, I mean, in the viewfinder, in the mirror here, I'm not looking terrible today. I'm looking definitely a little tired because, again, concert last night and I just haven't been sleeping well in general, partially because of COVID, partially just because, you know, anxious Piscean brain. But I've just been really craving kind of like a bronzy look. So using pretty much no new products, we're just gonna dig in and just do makeup playtime while we continue to discuss beauty YouTube, the power of beauty YouTube, the beauty of beauty YouTube as a creative outlet and grounds for community when the world is the way it is right now, and why it's not just makeup. I washed my face when I got home from work today because I had to go into the city. So I do have some skincare on, but because it's evening when I'm filming this, as per usual, we're just going to go ahead and pretend that I have my SPF on, and I am still currently using the Kopari Antioxidant Face Shield Mineral SPF. And I will have final thoughts about this soon, but as a whole, as someone with like combination oily skin, it's definitely not my favorite. But we're going to pretend that this is on my skin today. After I wash my face, I put on a serum and an oil. So I'm quite hydrated, and I'm going to increase the dewiness effect because I wanted to pull out my Typology tinted serum, which I haven't used in a hot second, in a hot minute. Honestly, multiply that by like infinity. I don't remember the last time. I open it sometimes and just give it a sniff to see if it still smells good, or smells not good, but like it hasn't gone bad. And because of my lack of sun exposure, it might be too dark for me, but we shall just put it on my face and see. And it's like, I don't know if it's just oxidization, but it definitely seems a lot pinker, or maybe I'm just a lot greener this year than I was last year, or maybe I just gave less fucks about my actual skin tone last year when I was using this. But it definitely is not a perfect match at the moment. But I just used a teeny tiny bit to kind of even out my skin tone. And in case you couldn't see it when I held it up, this is the type 3 medium. That's the shade. And hilariously, because as I've mentioned multiple times, I don't know what my actual skin tone is. So when I purchased this, I got like the shade 3 and 4. Way overestimating the actual deepness of my skin. Although I suppose if I was really spending all of my time outside and, you know, having 3 weeks of camping in the summertime as I did when I was a child, then shade 4 probably would be delightful. But as it stands, I'm the palest I've ever been in my entire life. So, you know, that's great. I'm gonna go in with just a little touch of concealer. When I did my makeup today before going downtown, I got to my blush and then realized that I hadn't put on any kind of complexion, like base product, so I didn't put on any concealer, and I was like, it's not that my skin is so perfect right now. I definitely have like some blemishes and some reactions from just having to wear masks and not feeling well, and, you know, not eating very well or eating at all during the onset of my plague. But I just missed the step. I missed the step and was like, well, it's actually not too bad. But because I'm extra tired at the moment, I'm going to just put a little bit of my Ritual de Fille Ethereal Veil Conceal and Cover. And this is my little sample shade Io, which is the shade lighter than Naiad. And like, it's almost done. So it's just gonna give me a little bit of that brightening quality I am looking for under my eye. And I don't actually know how it's going to react with the tinted serum, so kind of a good little experiment here. And it's not like such a difference in shade. It's again just, I'm just trying to achieve a teeny tiny bit of brightness in some of these spots. So it's not just makeup. I think that's where I was going with my conversation. I saw, I believe, who was talking about it? Amanda Z. And it was the week that the Supreme Court officially overturned Roe v. Wade. And, you know, I'm not going to say most people, because we know it wasn't most people speaking out about the devastation of that news. Again, even though we were all expecting it and we all saw it coming, and in fact we all warned everyone else that it was coming down the pipe, despite the fact that no one chose to believe us or just thought we were being, you know, hysterical females, whatever. There was a lot of people, including those in the beauty YouTube space, who spoke out about the news when it happened and, you know, immediately vocalized their support for all uterus having bodies and the importance of bodily autonomy and the importance of legal and safe access to abortions, and, you know, just the basic human rights that were being stripped with that decision, and what that was going to continue to mean. Because if you've been paying any attention at all, the Supreme Court is just hacking away at rights. They're making a complete mess of the state of the United States right now, if it is even possible to make things worse, but they are. And so Amanda Z was talking about it. She had, I think, mentioned it in a couple of her YouTube videos, and then on her Instagram story, she just took a moment to be like, I just want to talk about something, and it's the fact that, you know, we're not just doing makeup here. Just as a quick pause, I'm going to go in with my NYX Brow Glue because, as per usual, I'm not doing anything special with my brows. Although when I waxed them recently, I did leave a little bit more hair. I'm trying to just get them to be a little bit fluffier. Anyways, so Amanda Z was talking about the fact that not everybody in this space, in these communities, are just doing makeup. It's not just about makeup. It's about so much more. It's about community. It's about expression. And I guess after she, you know, vocalized some of her opinions on Roe v. Wade, she got a couple of comments that are being like, just stick to makeup, which is the exact same kind of comment as stay in your lane. And it's like, no, listen, I contain multitudes. We all contain multitudes. We are not black and white caricatures of the 1950s female. We are so much more evolved. We are so much more dynamic. We have voices. We are using them. We are creators in a space that has given us the freedom to carve our own paths in the world. And I think I've mentioned this before, but it was kind of one of my personal hesitations in starting a YouTube channel, because I did have this own kind of inherent bias about beauty. And if there was this underlying concern and fear and self-consciousness that if I got into the beauty space, if I started a beauty YouTube channel, I wouldn't be taken seriously. That, you know, number one, I would be shot down out of the sky because I don't have the kind of skills that some of these other beauty YouTubers have, that who are makeup artists, who have been trained professionally in the beauty space, or have at least been in the beauty space for years and years and years, and have developed, or at least started out with, an inherent artistry. Whereas I just had an interest in it. I love beauty. I love beautiful things. So for me, it was an avenue into the creation of a YouTube channel that felt comfortable. And, you know, I wanted to carve out my own little niche, but I was definitely very concerned about that attitude of, you know, oh, it's just makeup and it's just beauty and it's so superficial. And if you're in the beauty space, well, then you must be a ditz, you know. As soon as you start talking about makeup or skincare or fashion, you know, your dit switch has gone off, and no one is going to take you seriously on any other subject matter ever. And you will be pigeonholed as, you know, a typical female who like belongs no place other than the kitchen and in front of the vanity, which is like, hello, not just inherent bias, but like internalized misogyny, which we all need to completely eradicate in our psyches, because it's so toxic, and it's toxic, it's damaging, and it's even more prohibiting than our perfectionism, which I would actually arguably say are these perfectionism and that internalized misogyny are inherently interlocked because of the way that we have been raised. And maybe some of the upcoming generations are not feeling that weight so heavily, but I think even still as millennials, there are certain things that have been ingrained in our minds from childhood about, you know, the gender binaries and the expectations of the female gender and what it means to be a woman. And we could continue to go down that path, but I really appreciated that Amanda Z took the opportunity to be like, it's not just makeup. It's so much more than makeup. It's so much more than beauty. Do we love to engage with and play with beauty? Do we love to put on makeup? Yes. But that is just one of the many infinite layers that makes us up as individuals. And even though some of these people are like more strictly beauty channels, I have kind of, again, carved out my own little niche where beauty is just one aspect. I'm not like a beauty influencer or strictly like review channel, but that also doesn't mean that the channels that are that way can't also engage in the wider conversations and what's happening in the wider world. I too had that criticism, I think, before I even really started engaging with other creators' YouTube channels, like years and years ago. Like, I just thought that it was so superficial, and I was like, why would I take an interest in this? But then you start watching these channels and you start listening to these incredibly intelligent and beautiful and funny and empowered women and other creators start to speak, and you listen and you hear what's happening in between the lines. You pick up on the subtext of these channels. And again, some of them are just strictly beauty channels and they won't go beyond that, but a lot of the content that I'm personally consuming is multifaceted, is multi-layered, has a significant and beautiful depth to it. And that is people like, you know, Hannah Louise Poston and Khaki and Amanda Z, and the list goes on. My COVID brain won't allow me to go beyond 3 in the list, but there are so many creators. Oh, my friend Channy, her channel is Sincerely Channy. Like, these are brilliant, brilliant individuals who just happen to use beauty as their outlet. But it's not just makeup. Does that make sense? Am I just going to continue to repeat myself until I feel like I have validated this idea to myself? Possibly. Anyways, because I am really craving a bronzy, glowy look as if I have been out on a beach or in the sun, hiking around, getting lots of rays all over my skin, I decided to finally pull out my Tower 28 Bronzino in Best Coast, which, as you can see, is not new. I have absolutely used this many a time, but it's been in my collection for a while and is one of those things that, like, ooh, it's so pretty. It's probably, it's overdue. It's expired, but it's fine. I'm gonna wash this off. This is not staying on my face all day. It's nighttime, so once we're done playing here, there will be water and cleanser on my face. But it's such a beautiful product. I think one of the reasons why I kind of pulled back from the cream bronzers, which I love, is that, you know, masks became a thing. And unless you're using like really grippy primers and really intense setting sprays and setting powders, your mask is going to leave lines in your product or is going to just completely pull it off. And so I started getting back into powder bronzers, which, don't get me wrong, I also really love, but by not picking up this product specifically and some of my other cream bronzers, like, what a missed opportunity. What, like, it's just, it's so pretty. And the Bronzino in Best Coast is definitely the shade that leans a little bit more red. So it's leaning away from that kind of like greeny bronze. And normally, I mean, it really depends on your skin tone. And, you know, if you're more interested in color theory, go to a channel like, you know, Kiki or Khaki or Hannah Louise Poston. They get into the color theory a little bit more. But sometimes it is also just nice to play with some shades that are maybe a little bit beyond that. But I definitely, when I'm truly bronzed by the sun, I do go more of like a reddy brown than a greeny brown, even though I have an olive skin tone. Like, my skin gets very rich. So this color, I think, personally, sits at home on my skin. And it's just such a beautiful, glowy formula. They say that it's not shimmery, but I don't know. I kind of swatched it. It's just, the line between shimmery, glittery, and like glistening is so thin to me. I'm not an expert, but everything is always shimmery, and that's fine. As we have discussed of late, like, I'm all about the glitter, like sparkly, shiny things these days. My cat was yelling at me and I couldn't figure out whether she was outside or upstairs. And I opened both doors and she was nowhere to be found. Like I was being haunted. Okay, what should I do next? I think I'm gonna go to the eyes, and tragically yesterday when I was getting ready for the Machine Gun Kelly concert, I brought my Cosmetics Da Vinci palette with me because, as I said, my whole intention of that was that it was like my little travel palette because it was so perfect. In my PMS week, I have a tendency to be very clumsy and things tend to fly out of my hands more often than normal. And sadly, my Cosmetics Da Vinci palette was a casualty of my PMS hands. and it went flying and cracked and shattered, and like what a devastating moment. Honestly, on top of everything, the fact that that beautiful little palette shattered, like it's all is not lost. I still have quite a bit of product, but it was just like such a mess. I was so upset, and like thankfully I gave myself enough time to get ready and like clean up, so I wasn't in a rush. But like, come on, universe. Why can't we have nice things? Anyways, so kind of as a result of me not wanting to mess with that palette at the moment and like risk it flying out of my hands, I decided to pull out my Tati Beauty palette, and I'm not 100% sure. Do I go, because I want to do a bronzy look, do I just stick to the two like light and darker brown rows, or do I play around with the orange? Although I feel like I did that in my kind of like fall holiday video. What about this pink? I'm gonna swatch the Poet row and see. So that's the matte. It's very pretty. I always worry that if I put this kind of pink on my eyes, I'm gonna look sick. That is the sequin. I don't know if it's picking up very well, but the sequin, I've raved about this sequin row, not column. The column is Poet, the row is sequin, and with Poet, the sequin shades have like a blue shift. This is the metallic, which I'm not usually drawn to metallic shades. I either like a matte or like a super, like a celestial glitter, and that brings us to, oh, I mean, there is just really nothing like Tati's glitters. That is so pretty. Do I just go for it? I have no idea how to wear pink on my eyes like this, but we're gonna try. I know it kind of strays from bronze a little bit, but whatever. Okay, maybe though I will start with just putting some of Soothe, which is this like lighter kind of tan brown shade, in my crease, and I'm going in with the sequin row because it is just a little bit easier to blend, and it's the closest, if not almost exactly, my skin tone in the palette. So it's just kind of a nice base, and I could have gone in with the mattes, but I just am always worried that it's going to be, it's not the most beginner friendly formula, although I don't know if I would call myself a beginner, but you know, I'm just being cautious. Although it's just us, we're just playing, we're not going anywhere. So if this ends up tragically horrible, look, I'm ending up with the reversed raccoon eye because of that bronzer and how pale my concealer was. So we're gonna have to take the blush up into the under eye. We're gonna have to do that trend, which is fine. Okay, I'm gonna go in with Soothe on the lower lash line. So yeah, basically, I just want us all to, I just want us all to be kinder. Also, look at the difference in shade. This is obviously a palm, but like, I am one of those people now that has different colored hands to their face. We're going to ignore that. Also, we're going to ignore the state of my fingernails. That is another tragedy that has befallen me, all because during my birthday, I wanted to get my nails done, which I knew in the moment would be a mistake because of the after effects. Like, while my nails were on, it looked beautiful, and I felt like I had elegant hands, and then they all fell off, and my nails are just recovering so slowly, and they keep peeling, and then they're just, I feel like I have little troll hands, and it's driving me absolutely nuts. Anyways, yeah, I think we just all need to be kinder to each other, and we sometimes, most times, all the time, we need to bite our tongues on that initial criticism and really think about why our initial reaction is the way that it is. And especially when it comes to beauty YouTube, like again, I will just reiterate this over and over and over. This is a community building space. This is a space where people come who are like-minded. Obviously, sometimes there are, you know, socioeconomic boundaries that appear because obviously some people, a lot of people in the space, in the influencer space, are at a completely different level than, you know, the average person, and they get sent PR. But there is an entire niche in this section of YouTube, beauty YouTube specifically, that is comprised of brilliant people who have so much to offer and who become our friends, whether we are a co-creator or we are just simply a consumer of that content. And when you are the creator, this is a creative outlet. It is a space to cope with the rest of the world, to have a moment of escapism from the rest of the world, to engage a different part of our brain that is not being constantly traumatized by the state of the world. It's an escape, it's playtime, it's exercising, you know, the other sides of our brain, especially if we have day jobs that are not necessarily as creative or are more, you know, emotionally or physically demanding. It is a safe space that we have created for ourselves. And as things in the wider world continue to go downhill, these spaces become even more important. It becomes so essential for us to have community. It becomes so important for us to have the freedom in these spaces to vocalize our concerns and our thoughts and our fears and our passions and our pain. It is essential to the very core of our humanity to be able to have access to that. So as we see our, you know, human rights being stripped away, we cannot then pigeonhole the people in the communities that we are seeking out because we have a specific idea or a bias about what that should or shouldn't be. And again, it is not just makeup. It is not just about makeup. It is so much more. And as we see some of these artists out there who are coming out with beauty lines and makeup lines, you really start to see that it isn't just makeup. It is about creativity. It's about self-expression. It's about artistry. It's about empowering and emboldening people, regardless of gender. It becomes a borderless landscape where we can just play and where we can exist and where we can become and strive to be whoever we want to be. It is not just makeup. Okay, I'm going to zoom through this next little bit as I play with the Poet column in the Tati Beauty palette. And when we come back after the zoom, you'll see if I failed at this or not. But if I continue to talk, we're just not going to get anywhere, and this will be another, you know, feature film. So I'm starting with the sequin shade, and as you can see, it is on my brush, and any of you know this. And honestly, let's zoom in a little bit. I have a significant amount of sparkle / glitter fallout, but I'm loving glitter so much these days that it doesn't bother me that much. But the pink is actually really fun. I don't know if it's just the lighting scenario, but in my mirror here, it looks way better and like more, it pops a lot more than it does in the camera here. So as I said, I started off with Soothe, kind of just in the crease, kind of laying down a base shade. I use the sequin versus the matte just because it's a little bit easier to buff out. But then I went in with the sequin shade in the crease, or Poet, which is the pink shade. And then I like buffed it really out into the corners, not giving any kind of like very precise shape, just more like smoked out. And then I went right onto the mobile lid, with the metallic, which I pretty much have not used at all in this palette, but I really like the results. And then I kind of just stuck my finger into the glitter and just from like kind of the, I would say, outer third of my pupil out, I took the glitter and just kind of like dabbed it. And then I went in with the Ritual column, which is the darker brown here, again using the sequin texture, and just use that to kind of darken up the lash line and the lower lash line as well, just on the corners. And then I went in with the e.l.f. Big Mood mascara, which I haven't used in a while, and I really love the results. And honestly, this too would have been a badass makeup look for the Machine Gun Kelly concert last night, because the vibe is very much like pink and black, like old school pop punk, and ooh baby, am I here for it. It brings me so much unadulterated joy. I just truly love it. Okay. Now I need to figure out, oh, the color difference here is, like, look at the color difference between my ear, and like it doesn't help that I put on such like a rich reddy brown bronzer, but I'm gonna have to just take some of that onto the ear so I don't have such pale ears, or just have to cover them. What to do on the cheeks? I didn't bring out that many options for the cheeks, although hilariously I brought out the Danessa Myricks Vision Flush in Tiara, as if I was actually going to use some kind of highlighter. I truly don't need any kind of highlighter because my skin is so dewy, and the Tower 28 Bronzino has that natural kind of like kiss of glisten. Speaking of kiss though, the blush that I brought out is the Bare Minerals Bronzer in Kiss of Rose, and this is still in the original, like last year's packaging. I'm pretty sure that they re-released this, hopefully as like a permanent shade, permanent line, and it's now in a black package, so just disregard my package, but I believe that the formula is the same. It's a little, it's not the same pink, and like on my skin, Poet from the Tati palette is really pulling a lot more blue, especially in the metallics. Like it's shifting more blue. And so this bronzer definitely has the potential to clash, but we're just gonna give it a shot. And I'm just taking a kind of more a flat style blush brush, and I'm patting it on versus sweeping, because I'm a little nervous about disturbing the typology, just because I haven't used it in a while. I can't remember. I don't want it to pick up and leave weird marks. Because it's a bronzer and it's, you know, kind of meant to bridge the gap between those two style products, I don't think it's terrible. And I'm kind of going a little bit heavier than normal, again, because I was really craving that like whole bronzy vibe. And I am so glowy. Like, look at that shine right in the middle of my forehead. Just headlight. All right, I'm digging that. You know what I forgot? Powder, which is definitely something I want to go in with. And I am using the Cheekbone Beauty Mattifying Moon Dust Translucent Powder, which I do really enjoy. And I think, at least I haven't tried it personally, but from what everyone is saying, I feel like this Cheekbone Beauty powder has a very similar vibe to the Kosas Cloud set, where it like sets your makeup but doesn't necessarily take away that kind of the glow that you want. Like it, even though it's called mattifying moon dust, it's not gonna knock you all the way into like a matte canvas. And maybe that's because my skin is, you know, a little on the oilier side. It's very humid here in the summertime, so that's a contributing factor obviously to the kind of, it's not even oil production, it's just the air is humid, so everything never really dries down. But I do really like this powder a lot, and you can even just like use it with your finger, and that's what I do sometimes, is just put some on my finger and pat it into the spots where I need a little extra touch up, and I quite like the effect. Okay, now lips. Do I do a subtle lip? What I had on my lips previously before I started filming is the new new REM Beauty lip oil in Raspberry Drip, and it's just lovely looking. I really, again, I know people kind of like shit on her packaging, but I enjoy it. So do I do something simple and just glossy? Do I do something shimmery and bronzy? Do I do something vibrant and matte and kind of have like a whole sunset vibe going on with the pink eyes and the orange lip? Do I do something sheer and orange? I have this Ritual de Fille lip sheer in Bloodroot, which looks like super dark in the packaging, but it's an absolutely stunning formula. Do I go even more glossier and do the Glossier, what's this called again? Hydrating Shining Color in Coupe. Or is it coupe? I would imagine it's coupe, but it doesn't have an accent, so I don't know. But like, that's a super punchy orange. Actually, let's give that a swatch. It ends up more of like I would say a tangerine on me, which is beautiful. And then I have another Ariana Grande REM Beauty, sorry, one of the new lip products from the Chapter 3 release, which is the On Your Collar Plastic Lipstick in Twisted. And okay, this packaging just kills me because it's just like this little lipstick astronaut and like, excuse me. And it's this beautiful like thin bullet, which I really love. Like very similar actually to the Ritual de Fille, although this is actually, the Ritual de Fille is a little bit chubbier and not as tall and slender. But I just, this packaging truly just sends me to the moon. I freaking love it. The creative direction there just brings me so much joy. And it is also similar, like kind of in that orangey tone. I feel like adding a matte lip would be a nice contrast, but I also haven't used the Bite Beauty Yay Sayer Plumping Gloss in a long time, and you know, I'm holding out on for a hero. Again, it's just that like RIP to Bite Beauty, just leaving us. What a beautiful product. And this is, I believe, cinnamon toast? Cinnamon twist. It smells like cinnamon toast. Cinnamon toast crunch is what I mean. That definitely helps to achieve the bronzy vibe. I don't know. I like it. I think I achieved what I wanted to achieve. I feel bronzy. I feel like I could go to another Machine Gun Kelly concert and just like rock out. This is also what I did with my hair last night, so you know, I'm basically right back in the same vibe. And when I turn off the camera, I will be putting on my Machine Gun Kelly playlist again, because it's such a vibe. And if anyone can speak to pain and passion and that beautiful intersection where art is born, it is Machine Gun Kelly. Love him or hate him, he's an artist and he makes addictive music. And he is an incredible rapper. I was telling this to my mom. This is completely off topic. It has nothing to do with what we've been talking about today. But I was telling my mom, you know, you can listen to a studio album and be like, yeah, that's good. But you're not entirely convinced that talent is raw because all you're listening to is a fully produced piece of music, which is so easy to fake and manipulate. Then you hear a performer do something live, especially when it comes to rapping, and you're just like, oh my god, like you can spit. You can spit rhymes. Such a white person. Spit rhymes? Is that even it? Am I just not even just a white person, but a really old person? Oh. I'm gonna blame the COVID brain on that malfunction. Anyways, just to bring it back full circle and to reiterate one more time, this isn't just makeup. Beauty YouTube is not just about makeup, and suggesting that any of us, whether we are, you know, interloper style creators who are basically as green as a brand new clover leaf, or we are basically veterans in the space and have been on this platform for 15 years or however long YouTube has been around, like, don't ever, as someone from the outside looking in, as someone who is just hiding behind a keyboard, don't ever suggest that we just stick to makeup or just stay in our lanes. No, because again, we contain multitudes. We are multifaceted, intelligent people who are out here making our own paths in a world that can often be very scary. And this is a space where we can feel home and, like I said before, safe. And we are, not all of us, but a lot of us are trying to create spaces where others can come to also feel safe and also feel like they have a community and they have a place to go where, you know, for 20 minutes or for an hour and a half, they can just kind of pull the curtains on the outside world and everything that's scary and just escape with a friend for that moment in time. And I think that's a really beautiful thing that we should never sneeze at, that we should never disregard or disrespect, because we live in an increasingly individualistic and isolated world where the divides between ideologies continue to grow wider and wider. And when you find these little places in the world or on the internet that feel like home, that feel safe, you gotta grab onto it, whether you are a creator or a consumer, or, you know, you occupy both spaces on a consistent basis. So yeah, it's not just about makeup, it's about so much more. It's about life, it's about legacy, it's about our future, it is about passion, it is about pain, it is about sharing the common experience of what it means to be a human in a world that continues to try and turn back the clock on basically everything and doesn't want us to have that freedom of expression or the, you know, rights to our own bodies and minds. So arguably being on YouTube, participating in beauty YouTube and subverting that genre with our intelligence and our, you know, topics of conversation and our creativity, we are pushing back against that. We are part of the resistance of that whole system that seeks to keep us down. And on that note, I'm gonna wrap it up here because this has been a feature film, but I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If you're new here, if this is your first video of mine that you are consuming, welcome. It is real girl shit here every day, all day, and all are welcome, especially the girls, gays, and theys. This is a safe space for you. And I hope that you feel at home here. I hope that everything I put out is everything that you need, and maybe sometimes it's not, and that's also totally okay because I create this content as much for myself as it is for you. But if you are new here and this is your first video of mine that you have watched and you like what you saw, I would love, love, love for you to become part of the Land Fam. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And for the rest of you troopers who have continued to stick it out with me, I love you guys so much, and I am so grateful for your presence and your engagement and your silent but strong encouragement as I continue on this journey. All right, that is everything from me today, guys. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next one.